Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Leo, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the month of June 2025. I hope you're well. I'm using the Night Sun Tarot for you today. Before we begin, if the reading resonates with you and you'd like to go a little bit deeper, there will be an extended that you can access at the end. You are looking for the link in the description box below that takes you to Selfie. Alternatively, you can come and join me over on the Circle platform. It's my private community. Over there, you get access to all of the extended content for no extra cost beyond the membership fee. Get to hang out with an extraordinary group of people that is it's comprised of experts in their field. Actually, we've got astrologers, tarot readers, sound and frequency healers, Reiki healers. We've got everything over there, and we do run classes which you have the opportunity to participate live in. So if that sounds like it might be of interest to you, you know what to do with those links below. Anywho, let's flip this around, Leo, and see what's going on with you. Could I have 3 cards for Leo, please? Right, we have the Death card reversed. Let's put my doggy over the top of Death's boobs over there, because otherwise YouTube flags me for nudity. What about current energy, please, for Leo? What's current energy for Leo? Oh, thank you. We have the 9 of Wands. Well, yeah, for sure. And what's coming towards Leo, please, for June? What does Leo need to know about June? Right, that's actually just wedged in my chair there. We have the 2 of Cups. We have the 6 of Cups at the bottom of the deck, which is interesting. I don't feel like this is going to necessarily be filling you full of rapturous joy to see this. I'll sort of get into why in a moment. I don't think there's anything to worry about for sure, but we're not seeing a conclusion of the sort that you would like, Leo. That much seems abundantly evident to me. So let's get some clarifiers out here. Why is Death in the reverse for Leo, please? We have the 3 of Wands and the Justice card in reverse. Tell me about the 9 of Wands. Why is this here for Leo? So, 6 of Wands for sure. And the 8 of Pentacles. And what about the 2 of Cups? Why is this here for Leo? We have Page of Wands and the 6 of Swords. Right, 10 of Swords is at the bottom of the deck. Now, I would say potentially of all of the readings that I've done for June, and I am almost done now, yours probably is the one that I can feel the most frustration coming off, and that's saying something, because some of the signs have been really like, but a lot of the signs haven't. Let's just pop it there. Now, this 10 of Swords has been popping up quite a lot. It does represent Sun in Gemini, and we are in Gemini season now, so I mean it could just be a statement of that. But I think there's something a little bit deeper going on, Leo, on account of the fact that this 10 of Swords seemingly has come up as everybody's mindset is shifting. Or to say the very least, mindset is shifting. I think it's probably more accurate to state that consciousness is evolving, expanding, increasing. And we need to leave behind a particular kind of mindset, right? A particular way that we have thought about things. Like the 10 of Swords represents the end of a cycle that we have been in, where we see things a particular way. We move from the 10 of Swords to the Ace of Swords. That's the way the tarot works, right? Cycles within cycles. Where what was, potentially very uncomfortable realizations get replaced with the relief of actually dealing with the truth of a matter. Now, we're not seeing the Ace of Swords showing up just yet, and I do feel like, for you as much as for everybody else, that's because there are things happening. I feel like June, rather than a position, May and June actually, rather than a months of consolidation where we were sort of, trying to find out where we stood after the somewhat chaotic energy of the preceding months. It's not really like that. It hasn't really played out like that. Much more, it's been about sort of being in a liminal space where we are straddling 2 worlds right now. What is new is not fully here. and what's old isn't fully gone, because we ourselves are the things that are changing in between it. So let's start over here with death in the reverse. And I have to, it's kind of crushing to see this. We've got death reversed, we've got the Three of Wands reversed, and we have the Justice card reversed. If we can just start with the Justice card here, there are two different applications that we could make from the imagery here on this card. The first is that we feel like we have suffered some sort of injustice. If the Justice card in the upright is the great balancing of things, where fairness kind of rules everything, or we hope it is, these higher principles of what justice actually represents in one's life, then we can see when it shows up in the reverse that we feel like we've been dealt rather a shitty hand by fate, destiny, God, source, universe, whatever. It's like it's unbalanced where it should be balanced and fair, and there can be feelings of a kind of bitterness about that. That would be that wouldn't be too much of a stretch to see that happen. The other way of looking at this is a sense of having sort of lost one's way in terms of purpose and fulfillment and alignment and all of those things that we really enjoy. Somehow feeling like we might have veered off track just a little bit. And whether we feel like we've been left behind by the universe or God or source or creator or whatever, or that perhaps worse, we've been kind of forgotten about, could well be creeping through our thinking and our feeling at the moment. When you when you combine this with the energy of the Three of Wands, there's definitely a sense that nothing really has moved forwards in any kind of tangible, meaningful way. I know quite a few of the signs have, I'm thinking specifically the like of Taurus, the like of Pisces. These are all making strong movements forwards, where all the things that we've just been talking about there, such as alignment and fulfillment and purpose, all seem to be just sort of, lining up in front of them. And they're making some sort of progression, right? All of this planetary energy that's been focused on the signs of the transition from Pisces to Aries, and this 0 point Aries being the new start, seem to be lighting up quite a few of the different signs. It does not feel like it's touching in any meaningful way Leo right now. And that's kind of a hard pill to swallow, on account of the fact that we ended up having, a Mars retrograde in our sign, which I think maybe I speak for all Leos when I say that was kind of tortuous. So we're getting a double helping of the slappings from the universe, except they're not really slappings from the universe. We've got to be careful to reframe our thinking in terms of that one. Certainly, there's no sense of moving forwards, and there isn't that sense of being boosted or injected with some new enthusiasm coming by way of Aries for us right now. It's like everything's just a little bit static. And then we have the Death card sitting over the top. Now, Death represents the sign of Scorpio and Pluto. And Pluto is currently in retrograde, as he has been for a couple of weeks now. He will be retrograde until September, and you'll have to have a look in your chart to see what house is ruled by Aquarius, and that will tell you where this retrograde is happening. When we have retrograde planets, what we have is reassessment, reevaluation, kind of going back over things, and particularly if there are some stones that have been left unturned, right? But I think what makes it particularly difficult for Leo in particular, how many times can I put particular into one sentence, is the fact that because Pluto is in the sign of Aquarius, that is your opposite sign in the zodiac. So we have, at least by house, an opposition to Pluto that is hitting every single placement that you might have in Leo right now. So I'm a Leo Sun, a Leo Moon, a Leo Mercury, a Leo North Node, Leo Vertex as well, actually, interesting. And so by house, everything is being opposed by Pluto. That's very uncomfortable. look to your own chart to see, what placements you have in Leo, and what also may be experiencing this level of Plutonian intensity and Plutonian opposition, right? Because when stuff's in opposition, nothing just seems to go correctly, right? But certainly by degree, if you have anything in the first 5 or 6 degrees of Leo, then you are feeling this really intently right now. So I'm a 1 degree Leo Mercury and a 5 degree Leo Moon, so it's stuck in. Anyhow, I bring this to your attention because what is affecting you collectively as a sign, which is to say the opposition to Pluto, which is currently in retrograde, may well be considerably sharper if any of your placements are in the early degrees. So, because death represents transformation of state, we can talk about it in shorthand as representing endings, but that is really only about half of the picture, because the universe is a generative mechanism. Right? It wants to give, it wants to expand, it wants to grow, and what we do is put resistance in the way of that. So what we have to do is go back over things, look at where we're resisting, give way, surrender, remove all of the obstacles, and let the universe then do the generative thing that it likes to do. And there's just not a sense of that having happened here. Now I'm going to get some clarifiers out before I go any further, because if it's possible to get some clarity on Queen of Pentacles, on what the Justice card in reverse is actually talking about here. 3 of Pentacles and the Wheel of Fortune. Ooh, interesting. And here's the thing, Leo, I do wonder if part of you is focusing on what isn't moving forward and what has been taken away, or some sort of misalignment, unbalance, or injustice that you feel like you have suffered, that is completely ignoring what else is happening besides. We don't have a sense of you transforming quite in the same way that the other signs do, but then by house you're the only one who's being opposed by Pluto, and that's that's uncomfortable. Even speaking as a Capricorn ascendant, right? So I had Pluto moving through my first house for what, 15, 16 years. It wasn't all dreadful, not by any stretch of the imagination. And actually at the point where Pluto was literally going over the degrees of my ascendant, I was winning all sorts of gold medals and gold trophies for my kickboxing club. I felt powerful at that time. So you can't say that any kind of contact with Pluto at all is something that's going to leave you feeling desiccated and shriveled, because that isn't really the case. All of which to say is it's affecting Aquarius slightly differently to the way that it's affecting you, because it's not opposing Aquarius, right? So where we have oppositions, we've got to dig really fucking deep, essentially. And with this Queen of Pentacles, 3 of Pentacles and Wheel of Fortune, it says to me that there's a lot more going on in your life than you are currently aware of, or more specifically, currently paying attention to. The Wheel of Fortune, the presence thereof, says that it looks one way, but it's actually another. And particularly if you are feeling like fate and destiny, God, source, universe, creator, whatever, it is not taking you by the hand in the way that it seems to be taking the other signs. I would say to you that that is a perspective issue, and that actually it's just happening in a slightly different way to you compared to everybody else. The Queen of Pentacles and the 3 of Pentacles are a really interesting addition, though, because you may not be making the strides forwards that you would like to do. But there's something quite valuable that is being shored up while you are being held in the place that you are, certainly in terms of cooperation and collaboration, and understanding the value of that cooperation and that collaboration. And it needs to happen where you are right now and not where it is that you would like to be. So then when we come into your current energy, we have the Nine of Wands there, Moon in Sagittarius. We also have the Leo card of the Six of Wands. There it is. Unfortunately, it is not in the upright. And we also have the Eight of Pentacles. And there is something really quite powerful about the combination of cards as it is showing up there, because the Six of Wands on its side makes this neither a case of whether we feel victorious or whether we feel like we failed. And those are two things that actually are quite important for Leo, generally speaking. It is more a contemplation of the concept of success in the first place. And I do feel with this Nine of Wands, it's almost like you have been moving the goalposts on yourself for such a long time that you haven't noticed that your consciousness is beginning to shift with regard to what feels like success. Like whenever the Six of Wands comes up, we need to think about it in terms of its relationship with the Five of Wands, because it is a card of victory and it is a card of success, and neither of those things are given to us, right? We earn those. Where does the earning happen? It happens in the Five of Wands. So with the Saturn energy of the Five of Wands and the Jupiterian energy of the Six of Wands, there is, a reap what you sow kind of energy that's going on between them. Your victory is hollow if you didn't work for it, if you didn't put in effort, if you didn't change, if you didn't grow, if you didn't even, put yourself forwards as a contender in some sort of competition, you're not going to win it. And if you did win it, it would be fucking weird, right? But if you look at it the other way around as well, without the possibility of a victory, of the win, of the point where you conquer the adversity, the Five of Wands just becomes struggle for struggle's sake, right? We read them in parallel with each other, even if one is missing from the table. Now, I would say this is even stronger with the Five of Wands not being here, because we are thinking about success and what that actually looks like, what it means to you, and what kind of person you would need to be to have a particular kind of success. The thing is, you seem to be being derailed from where you think you should be going. Right? Because there's a whole other story that seems to be happening here in the background. The Eight of Pentacles, and eights represent power and how we can reclaim power for ourselves, how we can do all of those things, right? It represents mastery, but it also represents hard work and commitment. So in some ways, the Eight of Pentacles here is acting as a bit of a proxy for the Five of Wands. What it's not saying is you need to struggle, you need to fight, you need to be, being a little bit, Marsy in the way that you approach things. Rather, you need to put your head down and you need to potentially grind. Now, it doesn't have to be a grind, right? When we do something over and over again because we want to get good at it, there's usually a little bit of enthusiasm involved there somewhere. And the discipline comes later on as we motivate ourselves again and again and again to do this thing because we want to be good at this thing. Motivation gets very quickly replaced by discipline, and then it's just something that you do because that's what you do. I feel like something around the idea of success, Leo, is getting rewritten, renegotiated. If you are used to fighting tooth and nail for everything that you have and everything that you've ever won, removal of the need to fight for things quite likely would lead to the removal of the possibility of you ever being able to experience the Six of Wands, at least perceptually. But if we could treat this Eight of Pentacles as a proxy for the Five of Wands and say, well, it's not about fighting now. It's not about you having to dig in and be fierce and do all of these things. In fact, actually, you can be quiet and you can do things in the background, right? It doesn't have to be an all-out war with everything. I think it's quite interesting that Mars is, as I record this, I believe, still in the sign of Leo. It's been in there for ages now, since it went retrograde, it spent a fucking eons, frankly, in Cancer, which was horrible, and then it stationed direct, came back over the degrees that it had already covered in Cancer, and it came back into Leo, and he's been moving quite slowly through the sign of Leo, which does add a rather Martian dimension to what I'm talking about here. I mean, Saturn in Leo is more about struggle than anything else, but we do have that depiction of fighting, of competition, of, you know, needing to be the best that way. There's something altogether more reserved and more withdrawn about the presence of the Eight of Pentacles. It's about attention to detail. It's about the grind. It's about doing the same thing over and over again until you get good at it. And the picture that I feel is kind of forming in the background is that you're developing skills and you're working on things that are destined to take you much further than fighting your corner ever would. And then we come to the Nine of Wands. Now, the Nine of Wands is often about boundaries, right? But most specifically, it talks about, because it's a 9 for me, right? It talks about how you manage whatever suit it represents. So in the case of the Nine of Cups, it'd be how you manage your emotions. In the case of the Nine of Swords, it would be how you manage your mind. Here, it's about how you drive yourself forwards, how you discipline yourself to do things, whether you want to do them or not, actually, quite honestly. Because everything that's worth doing is worth doing well. Now, let me just pull up this deck here. So we have the Seven of Pentacles and we have the Nine of Pentacles. And the Two of Cups is sitting here again at the bottom of the deck. I see it over here too. There's no doubt in my mind here that some part of what is happening for you on a perception of reality level is shifting and changing. We've got a different kind of narrative that is trying to emerge, and it has to emerge where you are, not where you want to be, because in order to get to where you want to be, something about you needs to change, Leo, right? And that would be very much in alignment with seeing a Pluto opposition. Particularly if that Pluto opposition is to your Sun, your Moon, or your Ascendant, your Mercury. Or you might even push as far as to say Mars as well, right? So those 5 placements, most specifically, we're talking about here. You have to turn yourself into the kind of person for whom this kind of success, and I think that's being renegotiated. What does success look like for you? Because it's different to a version of success that you were working to just a few short years ago, right? It's totally different now, but it needs to be discovered, and I'm not sure that it's quite here yet. And so if you've been lacking in energy, if you've been lacking in motivation and discipline, potentially with this Eight of Pentacles here, because the promise of success doesn't really seem to be waving at you. I have to say that the promise of failure doesn't seem to be waving at you either, but more this abstract idea of what success would feel like for you, or what it would look like, or what you'd be doing when you're doing it, right? This struggle, this discomfort, this being stuck in your comfort zone right here, which is to some extent what I'm seeing going on, it's the choosing to exit this that is going to be the thing that makes the difference. Now, we have another card numbered 9 here, so we're talking about resources. And when we talk about resources, we can absolutely be talking about the level of energy that you have to devote to something. Because to my mind, if it's a pentacle, then if something can be invested, it becomes a pentacle. And we've got the 7, the 8 and the 9 here. Like, we're pushing towards the idea of completion. We're pushing towards the idea of something reaching its culmination, albeit not quite getting there yet. But I feel like because you're idea of what success is, what it actually means to you, has changed significantly, but we don't necessarily have a working definition for that yet. The things that used to motivate you don't seem to be doing that anymore. The things that used to drive you on don't seem to be doing that anymore. There's something new that has to replace it. We're looking for something that is going to perform the function of the Five of Wands without the need to consult the Five of Wands on this one, right? It's rooting into something entirely different. And I think you have been low on energy. I think, to be honest, you've probably been spreading yourself just a little bit too thin for a long time now. That's understandable. Mars retrograding in your sign is gross. Mars being in Cancer, I think everybody really suffered with that, but I think it particularly knocked the shit out of Leos a little bit here. So with the Seven of Pentacles, we have a situation that is, frankly, so fucking tedious and so fucking predictable. I feel like most of you want to do anything other than the grind, other than find a new kind of discipline, a new kind of motivation. It's like, no, I want the old one. I want the old one because I knew where I was with that and I got things done in that way. But we know that the internal narrative from the past is getting rewritten. So if you don't have the option of accessing that old version of motivation and drive, like, what do you replace it with? Particularly if you're not sure what success even looks like to you anymore. You know, is it financial? Is it a time situation for you? Is it having lots to do? Is it, you know, not having lots to do? Like, there are many things that are breaking down in 2025. And as I was saying to Aquarius a while ago, like, everything's changed. And the old world, which is to say, well, you know, the old world that we know actually fucking stopped in 2020, but everybody's just assumed it's gone back to normal, and it hasn't. Like, everything's fucking changed, right? There's an emptiness about that now. It's not real. It doesn't exist anymore, but neither does the new thing yet exist, because we haven't created it yet, right? Not us specifically as Leos, but just like we as a collective, as humanity, have not created it yet. And just as it's very difficult to know how to play a game if you haven't at least cast your eye over the rule book, it's very difficult to play the game and know what success is if everybody is working to a different idea of what that looks like. Now, I think for the most part, Leos have worked to an idea of success that has been dictated to them by other people. This might have been society, this might have been family, it might have been friends, it might have been you wanting to keep up with the Joneses. It was something. And I think a fundamental driver for that level of success was wanting to be part of, but stand to be part of something, but also to be recognised as being good within that thing that you are a part of, right? So people look at you and go, wow, Leo, you're fucking outstanding, that's cool. But everybody's working to an entirely different fucking rule book now, and it's varying between people. You know, for some people, going and living off grid and raising your own food and not having to, you know, participate in the 9-to-5 rat race, that is success for them now. 10 years ago, it might have been to have a nice car, to have the good job, to have the trappings of status and wealth, you know. Being able to have, you know, perfect little Instagram-worthy life. I just think that, do you know what it comes down to, Leo? It's actually a bit of an identity crisis. That's what it is. Because Leo and success are almost synonymous, right? at least in the minds of other people. To our own minds, we are aware of the struggle that goes on behind closed doors. But because Leo is the sun and it's authority figures and it's it's the middle of fucking everything, we associate that with success. And this identity crisis that you're having does have success pegged in there somewhere, because it's like, well, who am I if I'm not successful at that? And I could continue to be successful at that, but it doesn't really mean anything to me anymore. And so I don't feel successful, so my heart's not in it now, so I don't really want to fight for it anymore. What this is saying to me is that you are reorienting in a different direction, Leo, and you're not really getting the same kind of obvious, almost sort of Jupiterian helping hand that some of the other signs are getting. It's like, hey Leo, no, you sit there and you do this again and again and again until you work out what you think about this. You work out what has value for you. You work out what it is that will motivate you moving forwards. That's Six of Wands. Six of Pentacles, right? Creating the internal equilibrium that will allow you to successfully navigate your way out of the particular identity crisis that you're in. But this is where it gets interesting, because the Six of Pentacles and the Eight of Swords together is showing me that you are feeling completely stuck and trapped here in exactly the same way that you're feeling stuck and trapped over here. Now, I've already said to you, I feel like there's a different kind of story that's playing out in the background that for some reason you're not seeing. You're not privy to it. And perhaps even if you're starting, you've caught little aspects of it, it's almost like you haven't put the consequences of that together to see the bigger picture. Now, I'm not going to criticize you for that, Leo, because I don't think you're supposed to see it right now, and I do think you're supposed to be struggling a little bit right now. I think you're supposed to be having an identity crisis, and I think the idea of success, particularly the idea of public success, is something that is evolving right now in front of you. And until you work out who you are and what you stand for, or maybe it's a simultaneous process as you're trying to work out who you are and what you stand for, maybe the idea of what would feel like successful and meaningful to you is something that just sort of accidentally evolves alongside. The Eight of Swords is an interesting card, though, because it does say that the problem is not the problem. The problem is not what you think it is, just as what you think is happening here is not actually what's happening here. The Eight of Swords tells us that it's the way that you are thinking about this situation that is causing the problem. Now, I feel like what Leo wants more than anything else is to get on a firm footing with something and then just be able to boost in a particular direction. And it seems to me that Leo's being thwarted at every fucking turn. It doesn't really matter what you're doing, and right, because your outside world is a reflection of your inside world, I'm not surprised to see the Eight of Swords right here, because any kind of restrictive thinking is going to result in some sort of externally restrictive experience. But the fact that the Six of Cups and the Ten of Swords is here is saying, like, whatever fucking happened in the past, and we might be covering fucking decades and decades worth of life history here for you, Leo, there's something that's been programmed into you that just needs to fucking go, right? It's not part of the story moving forwards. And it's the way that you think about what you have to invest, what success looks like to you, what your own fucking identity looks like to you, that is where the work is. This is where the very grounded, very emotionally grounded approach to the problem would do you a lot of favours. Now, If I was to say to you, Leo, if I was to give you a time frame, I'm not going to give you a time frame, but let's say I did, and I said, right, the way that you're feeling right now, absolutely nothing will change until, let's say, the 27th of August. You just got to endure this until then. And then after that, everything's just going to be fucking lovely. I feel like most Leos would kind of bitch about it a little bit, but they'd be like, all right, okay, well, I've got an end date, that's fine. I'll just keep my head down until then, and then hopefully on the 27th of August everything will just be fucking super again. I'm not going to do that because I don't have a date for you, Leo, but knowing that there is a point where this would end would, I think, be sufficient for most Leos to go, oh, fuck it, right, okay, I'll get on with something else while I'm waiting for this time to pass. The fact that there is no end to it, that it feels like this is just what your life is now, and that, including this idea that there may be some aspect of you that is being left behind by everybody else. It feels a little bit like you're hyper-fixating on things to the point that you actually can't see the wood for the trees, Leo. Now, maybe your finances have taken a bit of a knock recently. Maybe your energy levels have taken a little bit of a knock. Maybe you're looking around at everybody else being creative and, like striving towards success, like starting new things, new creative endeavours, new jobs, new having new homes, going travelling, doing all sorts of things. And you're like, oh, what the fuck? Why am I not doing this too? And it's not that you can't do it, Leo. It's that the mindset shift, the end to the particular restrictive way of thinking about yourself that you do, it needs to be discomforted out of you. Now, I'm not saying you're comfortable, and I certainly don't think you've been comfortable for quite a long time. But I keep looking back at this bigger picture that seems to be unfolding in the background. And I can't help but feel that this struggle is necessary for you to move on to the next level, not because you are wafted along on the winds of fortune, but because you got it under your own steam, under your own discipline, over your own consistency. Now, it's a pretty shit time to be a fire sign, no, to be a fixed sign, I think. Although Taurus seems to be disproving that quite hard right now. Because there's so much change going on at the moment, and fixed signs are designed to be consistent, right? They're designed to carry the season, so they endure. They hold everything up. Taurus over the spring, Leo over the summer, Scorpio over the autumn, and then, Aquarius over the winter. Like, we hold that shit up and we do it consistently. There is no change from, light to dark or dark to light that's going on seasonally when the fixed signs are in charge, right? We're keeping it consistent. But there's so much chaotic change inside and outside going on right now. It feels a little bit like the rug has been pulled out from underneath the fixed signs. I'll be honest, I don't really like this very much. It's not that right, who fucking would like this? Because that sense of struggle is palpable. The sense of feeling stuck, trapped, and kind of left for fuck all is really, really strong. Right, Eight of Swords. Yeah. Fucking Four of Cups and Nine of Cups. And the Justice card showing up in the upright here. Whatever you're experiencing now, there is a karmic dimension to it, but there is also a destiny and fate and fortune aspect to it too. And the fact is, Leo, you can't see it. You absolutely can't see it because for one reason or another, you've got the blinkers on. And I don't know if there's been a resurfacing of an inner critic that says, well, you've probably pretty much come to the edge of your success now, and anything else is just you fucking pushing it, because, you know, you're trying to do things different, and it's just, you know, problem after problem after problem, and everybody else is like, well, hey, you know, oh, look at our consciousness evolving, and we're just fucking stuck here, and what does this even fucking mean? But there's a bigger picture playing out. Now, I can't help but notice that we've got these 3 nines now. The only thing that's missing is the 9 of swords. And I don't think you're in 9 of swords territory, Leo. I think your perspective on the whole is actually pretty good. I don't feel you gripped with anxiety. I don't feel you gripped with stress. I do feel a palpable frustration. But I wonder if nothing around you was changing, if other people around you weren't changing and seemingly, you know, getting on the, you know, I don't know, magic carpet or something. Whether you would be as bothered about the lack of movement forwards as you currently find yourself. Because there's something internally being challenged here. And it's asking you to emotionally regulate. It's asking you to get in touch with actually, you know, what you really do want. And it's also asking you to get in touch with that bit of you that will help you get there. But all 3 of these things seem to be eluding you right now. Now we've got the 2 of Cups at the bottom of the deck here. Interestingly, followed by the 2 of Cups. And then we have the 2 of Cups followed by the 8 of Cups, beg your pardon. And then we have the 2 of Cups followed by the 6 of Swords here. Now, these are both cards of departure. 8 of Cups and 6 of Swords talk about leaving something behind. Now, I don't feel like the 2 of Cups represents you leaving a relationship behind. But if it does, I don't feel like it's a close one. And I can't tell you why I feel like that, but I do. I'm not seeing marriage breakups or, you know, long-term boyfriend-girlfriend sort of things. Business partnerships, possibly. Interesting. So we have the High Priestess and we have the Tower there. Now that combination together, for me, traditionally has spoken to big spiritual awakenings. We have the High Priestess channeling down, receiving information, and we have the Tower just, you know, making a very sudden go of it that is actually quite shocking to experience. Notice that we have the Magician behind here. This is quite complex, and this is something that I'll get into more in the extended. But there are 2 different things that are happening here, so far as I can see. And both sets of cards actually bear this out a little. The first is there's the possibility of a new relationship coming towards you. Please do not think boyfriend, girlfriend, you know, the one, or any, we don't do that here. We're not interested in that here. But a relationship that could be entirely useful for your next stage, potentially coming in. But there's something that needs to be released first to create the space for this to enter. Hence, 10 of Swords. And this, you know, part of this might be, can you hold on to your sovereignty, your autonomy, but also your faith, while everything feels like it's not happening for you? Which is to say, Leo, can you be someone who has faith, but not in a fair weather way, right? Not a fair weather faith person, but I'm not enjoying where I am, things aren't good, but I have faith that it will improve at some point in the future. Because I think that that would probably mark quite a significant departure from a previous way that you have of thinking about things. The 8 of Cups and the 6 of Swords, for me, talk about enough of a mental and emotional departure away from this feeling of being stuckness that you can actually turn and see someone who is in your environment or coming into your environment very soon and be either inspired by them or be given information by them that changes a lot about the way that you see the world, right? Now, the other way of looking at this is, possibly a relationship that's being left behind. But in both instances, I would expect to see either the Eight of Cups or the Six of Swords appearing first. But we don't. We see the Two of Cups, and then we see some sort of breakthrough, some sort of movement. We see somebody coming in, whoever it may be, but it's someone kind of helpful. Whether they present themselves as helpful or not is a different matter. But in terms of the breakthrough that you've been looking for, it's coming, but not in a way that you expect. Now, I like the fact that the Temperance card is sitting at the bottom of the deck, because what was feeling imbalanced is actually starting now to be perceptually more balanced, right? We saw the Justice card here, then we saw the Justice card actually in the upright saying, no, everything's moving exactly as it's supposed to, right? There's nothing fucked here. Everything's playing out exactly the way that it's supposed to. But it isn't, I feel, until you get the presence of the Temperance energy coming in, that you are in a place where you can perhaps recognize this bigger picture thing that's been playing out. The Temperance card is about moderation as much as anything else. So there's a lot here about you moderating yourself. Each one of the 9 of whatevers that we're dealing with here, we're always talking about management, and management involves moderation. So are you allowing yourself to spiral? Are you getting frustrated? Are you sliding into something that may feel a little bit 5 of Wandsy, and now we've completely lost even conceptually what the 6 of Wands might actually mean for us? Because this Temperance card feels like divine guidance, divine orchestration. It's definitely right person, right time. It's right conversation, right time. It's something coming in that makes you feel like, oh my God, I feel so fucking stupid. Obviously, this is the way that it was playing out in the background. Here's a really useful person who's been sent to me and they've said this, or maybe they've put me in touch with this person, or maybe they've just recognized my worth in some particular way. And then we have a sense of moving forwards with this Page of Wands. Now, Page of Wands, quite strictly, it is not really about movement, but it is about the preparation for movement, which is a damn sight more movie than what we've been seeing over here, where you seem to have been spinning around in circles, stuck, trapped, not really knowing what's happening, not really knowing what's going on. But here, there's a new creativity that's starting to emerge, and there is the possibility of movement where there was no movement before. This seems to me to be coming off the back of somebody that you are meeting this month. Now, whether this is somebody who is coming in as, a new long-term person who's going to be around, romantic, possibly. I think on the whole not, though, and I might actually even say it's something... it's probably anything other than a romantic relationship, or whether this is somebody who just kind of blasts in, drops some absolute nuggets of pure wisdom into your head and then blasts out again. I'm not entirely sure, but the shift, the movement, the thing that you're looking for, by the end of June, it's really starting to take shape, because this Tower is jolting you out of the stupor that you feel like you've been in for a long time, where you're not really seeing the out. And more than that, you seem to be perceiving a much bigger picture. And honestly, Leo, I feel like there's a little bit of kicking yourself going on here. Like you didn't realise this was going on in the background. You didn't realise that this bigger picture thing was happening. It's like when You know, when I say I wish I was a little bit quicker about working out what the universe kind of wanted me to do, I actually really fucking slow, like Winnie the Pooh levels of slow to work this sort of shit out. And then when I see it, when I get it, when I understand it, I'm like, oh my God. Like, it was so frickin' obvious it was there the whole time. Feels like that, Leo. Which feels to me like it's bringing relief, but it's also making you pissed off with yourself. It's just like, oh, why? Yeah, look, there's the Ten of Pentacles there. It's fucking hiding on the other side of whatever this is that you're wrestling with. It's all about to get dislodged. And this is good. This is really, really good, because it does feel like, you know, whatever ground you feel like you've lost on other people, like that gets made up very, very quickly. But there's an implied sort of admonishment from the universe here too. Or God, source, universe, whatever. Just saying, why didn't you trust me? Why didn't you trust yourself? Why were you not patient in the moment, just letting this play out the way that it will? Like, you've done this enough times before to know. So in the meantime, I'm kind of eyeballing the idea of the Eight of Pentacles and saying, well, for you, Leo, you need to chop wood and carry water. And where the frustrations may be coming up to the surface, you've got to pull them apart and go, be very, very honest in expressing to yourself why you're feeling like this. It's not that the universe has left you behind. It's not that you are a crap ass or any of those kind of things. It's like, I don't really know what's happening, but I'm okay with not knowing what's happening. And I'm just going to get about the business of becoming a master at what I do while I'm waiting for the universe to show me what to do next. Because I trust that it will happen. Like, I don't think that's a mindset that you've rocked around too much with in your life, Leo. But it's the one that's required moving forwards. So, I think I'll leave it there. Know that I love you all very, very much. Oh no, I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to go and do the extended. That's what I meant to say, actually. Fucking hell. If you'd like to come and join me over there, you're very welcome to do so. You can do that on Selfie, you can do that on Circle. I would be delighted to see you in either place, and the links for both are in the description box below. The channel memberships to join the channel on YouTube are something entirely different. No extendeds on there, so please don't join up on that link. Look for Selfie or look for Circle. Honestly, I think you're going to kick yourself, Leo. I do. Alright. Know that I love you all very, very much. And I'll see you soon.